hip internal rotation, connective tissue activation for the regressive side of your hip. So I'm going to give you 3 different ways to set this up. So this is hip internal rotation. The regressive side is just the outside, so it's the part of the hip that's getting smaller effectively. So what we're doing this exercise for is to get this tissue online, to activate it so you can start actually feeling the tissue. And we're going to be using resistance bands for that. So I'm going to show you, 3 different setups. The first one is you'll be laying on your back, pop your foot up here, and you're going to get into whatever the end of your internal rotation is. So your program may tell you just to get to the end of your active range. It may tell you to get to the end of your passive range, which I can do here. And it may tell you to get like just 10 or 15 degrees past your active range if you've got a big gap. So simple way to get, like this is the end of my active range. If I want to get into my passive range, if I just use my hamstring to drive my heel down here a little bit and then sort of just twist my body this way, I'm now at the end of my stretch. So there you go, that's that simple. But anyway, all you're gonna do is get into whatever position it says. So I'm just gonna get to the end of my active range. I'm going to get a band first, actually, it's probably a better idea. Get a band, wrap it around the bottom here. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have to use the tissue in the outside part of my hip here to make sure that as I start pulling on this band, that the band doesn't pull my leg this way. But what I want to do is I want you to really feel how this feels in the tissue. And as you start really slowly, very slowly increasing the intensity of this, what I want you to try to do is with this tissue on the outside of your hip that's holding your leg at this rotation, is to match the amount of resistance that the band is putting in. So as I slowly do this, I should slowly start to feel this tissue come online. If I go too fast, what will happen is like I'll move, and I don't want that. The other thing here is just make sure if you're doing this setup, don't have your foot too heavy. So don't be like driving it into the floor here, like or into the bench, whatever it is you're using. So just slowly pull until you can feel that tissue activate, and then you'll be holding it here. You'll probably only want to get to about a 20 or 30% intensity to start with, but the program will say so. It'll be really hard to only get to a 20 or 30% intensity. You'll probably end up getting a bit higher to start, because having that control to know when it starts will be something that you learn. So that's one setup. Another setup is basically exactly the same, but rather than using your hand to pull it, you've got it anchored over to something there, because this works to a degree, but if you've got a lot of internal rotation, it's kind of hard to get the leverage with your arm like that. So if that's the case, just have the band attached to an anchor point, wrap it around, get to sort of where you need to be, get to that point, and then here, drive the heel into the floor, into the bench, whatever it is that you're using. So now the band isn't really doing anything. It's my hamstring that's holding me here. And as I slowly start releasing my hamstring and make my foot lighter, now the band tension is starting to go into my hip. And if I want to increase the tension a bit more, all I'm going to do is just sort of rotate my hips a little bit over this way. So you've got that set up here. So once again, I'm going to probably be over here. Once you've figured out how far you need to be to get the right resistance, now I'm probably just going to hold my leg here just to make sure it's not sort of moving this way. Just keep it straight up, and then slowly just release my hamstring to make my foot light. As you do that really slowly, you'll feel the tension into your hip. So there's that one. And then the other one, which is really, really easy and probably what I would go for. Maybe I should have started with this one. I would do either the first one or the second one if possible, and it's to do it in a half kneeling position. So in this half kneeling position here, as I face you, this is a neutral position. I'm internally rotating as my foot comes out here. So all I need to do is, once again, get somewhere where I've got a bit of resistance, just get into this neutral position. To get internal rotation, all I actually have to do is rotate my hips this way. Then I'm internally rotated. at the moment, my foot is driving, I'm driving my toes into the floor, so the band's not really doing anything. But then as I just make my foot a bit lighter, now my hip is having to hold my foot there. Because as I lift my foot up, now my hip is holding it. And then when I need a rest, I just drive my foot back into the floor, sort of using my quad. My hip's actually sort of getting a bit of a rest here. And then now I'll just make my foot a little bit lighter to start feeling this tissue. And there's your 3 different setups. I would probably try, the first one is this one here, assuming you can reach. Then do the half kneeling one if that's not for you. But there's a few different setups to figure out which one works best for you. Enjoy.